Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. And before we get started, just a quick reminder, we are going to be doing the 32 GM subscriber mock draft. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you subscribe. Just once we hit 1,000 subs, 32 random subscribers will be selected. You guys can be the 32 GMs of the mock, make trades with each other. We'll go up to like 3 or 4 rounds. Should be a lot of fun, a little chaotic as well. But regardless, today we're coming at you with our 2021 big board. This is my top 50 players in the NFL draft. So again, this isn't necessarily the order I've been mocking these players, because obviously mock drafts are what I think the GMs are going to do. This is just personally who I think are the best prospects in this class. I had to reveal the top 6, but then we can go one by one after that. So regardless, let's get into it. Starting off with the number 1 prospect in this class, I have obviously Trevor Lawrence. People have been rating him as the highest graded prospect since Andrew Luck, so it just makes sense for him to be the number 1 overall prospect. He's a great quarterback, great arm strength, has that mobility that you want in a quarterback nowadays, played very, very well at his pro day yesterday. So everything you expected to see from Trevor Lawrence since he came out of high school, you've seen, and he's really been just a tremendous football player and deserves to go number 1 overall, and probably will, actually definitely will go number 1 overall. So my second best player in the class is Zach Wilson. This one might be a little controversial having him this high. I really, really like Zach Wilson, and the gap between him and Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, isn't all that big. Don't get me wrong, Trevor Lawrence solidified himself as the number 1 prospect in this class, but I really, really like Zach Wilson. I like his mobility. I like his progression at the quarterback position. He has very, very good IQ of the game. He understands where to go after the play breaks down, what his next read is, and as well as that mobility helps him extend plays a lot. And don't get me started on the arm strength. It's very good as well. He's just a really, really good quarterback. Has to reel it in on the accuracy a bit, especially that deep accuracy, but he's a really, really good football player and someone that really excites me. I think these will be the number 1 and number 2 guys off the board, but Zach Wilson really has solidified himself as my number 1 or my number 2 prospect in this class and my number 2 quarterback in this class. So I think that there is a valid argument that you want to put these wide receivers above Zach Wilson. You want to put Penei Sewell maybe above Zach Wilson, maybe even Kyle Pitts above Zach Wilson. I could see all those arguments, but for right now, Zach Wilson is my number 2 guy. At 3, I got Penei Sewell, has the highest ceiling out of any tackle in this class. I think Slater's floor is a little higher right now. Slater's played better ball and is really just a solid pass blocker overall. Penei Sewell is going to be a very, very good tackle in the NFL. I think his upside is huge, and that's really what I compare, or what I'm looking for when I'm ranking these guys, is not only how's their floor right now, but what's their ceiling going to be? How good can this guy be? I genuinely believe that Penei Sewell could, in a few years, be the best tackle in the NFL. He's that good. He has all the skills that you want at tackle. He had one of the best offensive line or one of the best coaches in the country that happened to be a former offensive lineman, and definitely worked with him and Mario Cristobal. So I think Penei Sewell is set to be one of the better players in the NFL in a few years, and one of the best tackles in the NFL in a very short time. So Sewell is my number 3 guy. At 4, I had Kyle Pitts. There's just something about Kyle Pitts. I mean, like, the receiver class, especially these top 3 guys, they're all very, very good players, but Kyle Pitts is just something special as a ball catcher. I mean, the mismatches he's going to present in the NFL make him so electric to watch. Linebackers and safeties just simply aren't going to be able to cover a guy like Kyle Pitts, and he presents matchup nightmares for defensive coordinators. I think that Kyle Pitts is just a really, really fun prospect, and probably the best tight end prospect we've ever seen coming out of college. Obviously, the blocking leaves some to be desired, but that's really never going to be his role in the NFL. He's just a glorified receiver at that tight end position. They're going to have to start doubling him in the NFL immediately. They're going to have to try to put maybe a nickel cornerback on him, but that size mismatch is still going to prove to be difficult. So Kyle Pitts is just going to be very, very hard to scheme against. He's a tremendous football player, great receiver, and again, just a matchup nightmare. So I think that's why I have him at number 4, just because of how good he's going to be and the impact he's going to make for a team immediately in the NFL. At 5, I have Ja'Marr Chase. I have him over Devontae Smith only by 1 ranking in the entire scheme of things. I think Ja'Marr Chase is just a better overall receiver, has the physicality that you want at receiver, has the, release, has the ability to create separation. And don't get me wrong, Devontae Smith possesses all those things except for that physicality. I'm really looking for, in today's NFL, a receiver that can go up and get the football, a receiver that can be a clean route runner, a guy that can just basically do it all, Devontae Smith, I think, beats him in hands and maybe route running, but every other category, I think Ja'Marr Chase is just better fit in the NFL. Devontae Smith has a really, really small frame. That's really my only concern for him right now. I think Ja'Marr Chase is just a better NFL pro receiver at this point in time. So that's why I have Ja'Marr over Devontae, and then at 6, I have Devontae. So, I mean, I'm really nitpicking at these guys right now because they are the 5 and 6 players in this class. Devontae Smith is an absolute animal at wide receiver as well. Had probably the best wide receiver season of all time, maybe just behind Ja'Marr Chase's of last year. So both these guys, very, very good players. They're both gonna be very good in the NFL. Whichever team gets them, they're gonna make an immediate impact. Probably gonna become an immediate number 1 receiver for those teams. So they both really excite me at the wide receiver position. I think they're neck and neck. I just have Ja'Marr Chase over Devontae Smith at this point in time. At 7, we go Micah Parsons. As you can see, I have him ranked as the best defensive player in this class. He's just such a freak athlete and so good against the run. I think teams are going to ask him to play edge rusher in the NFL. That's definitely something that's going to happen. He's obviously the best outside linebacker in this class. He's not a pure middle linebacker, which is why teams are going to want him to play edge with that athleticism. So he's going to probably end up being some sort of hybrid in the NFL. The coverage ability isn't all there yet, but he's a great athlete and he could definitely progress and with that athleticism become a really good coverage because he can run with anyone with that athleticism. So under a good coaching staff, I think Micah Parsons can become a really, really good player. So again, best defensive player in the class. I know the top 6 are offense. That might not be what people want to see, but I think it's a really, really stacked class at the top offensively. And then there are some very good defensive players. Micah Parsons being the best of the litter in my opinion. Character issues, there was really no proof to them. Could they be a thing? Yes. Is it something to watch out for? Yes. Is it going to hurt his draft stock all that much? Not really, but I do believe that his versatility, playing off the ball as well as, could be an edge rusher with the athleticism, as well as can develop into a really good coverage backer, make him so exciting and so versatile, and that's why I think a lot of teams are going to go after him at the 7th, or not at the 7th spot, but with the first defensive player spot, whether it's him or maybe a corner, it's just going to depend on team needs, but I think Micah Parsons is the best defensive player in this class. At 8, here's my next best defensive player, Patrick Surtain. The only reason I have him above Caleb Farley right now is because Caleb Farley opted out. I think Surtain really solidified himself as the best corner in this class. I think he's the best coverage corner in this class. I think Caleb Farley is the best athlete and probably better in zone as well. But man-to-man, no one's better than Patrick Surtain. He created an island at Alabama. No one threw his way. Everyone was scared of him. And that's what you want, right? The less you hear a corner's name, the better he is because no one's throwing at him. And Patrick Surtain basically had that situation set up for him at Alabama this year. No one threw his way. He's a tremendous cornerback. I'm really excited to watch him in the NFL. I think he's going to be very, very good for years to come, and I do believe he is the best corner. Caleb Farley, again, has a little more scheme versatility than Patrick Surtain and is maybe a bit of a better athlete, but I don't think that he's the best coverage corner in this class. I think that goes to Patrick Surtain. At 9, this one might stir up some controversy as well. Here goes Trey Lance. So I do have him above Justin Fields. I think that people kind of got recency bias here, including myself. I had Justin Fields over Trey Lance for quite some time, and then I went back, watched the tape a bit more, and I really like what I see from Trey Lance. I think he, contends for having the best arm in the class. I think, is better mobility than any other quarterback in this class, and Justin Fields has great mobility, don't get me wrong, but Trey Lance's ability to not only run as a runner, but also extend plays with his mobility is so good. He has like a Cam Newton style running type, but has like the versatility of Lamar Jackson. Not obviously that good, but can make people miss, but also is a physical runner. Everything that he possesses, excites me. And when we look back at like the start of the season, when we were talking about Trevor Lawrence and this quarterback class, before a guy like Zach Wilson came out of the woodwork, before guys like Mac Jones and Kyle Trask came out of the woodwork, it was really just Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and then there was this Trey Lance kid, and people were saying that the gap between Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence wasn't that big. And don't get me wrong, North Dakota State, lack of competition, definitely things that are going to hurt Trey Lance, but I think just as an overall prospect, he's already better than Justin Fields. He has things that Justin Fields doesn't possess, and you can attribute that to the fact that Justin Fields is in a very simplified offense at Ohio State. Obviously, first read offense, he really only has one read. After that, I think he's going to have some trouble in the NFL, getting used to the fact that his first read isn't always going to be open. He's going to have to progress, go through his progressions, and I think that that's going to hurt Justin Fields a bit. it's a toss-up after 1 and 2. I'm pretty solidified on 1 and 2. I think Justin Fields makes a case to be the third quarterback, but for right now, I'm putting Trey Lance at 9. I think he's a really good player and, has a lot to prove, obviously, in NFL, but so does Justin Fields. So for right now, I am putting Trey Lance above Fields. I think it's going to be interesting to see what order these guys go in. Again, solidified in at Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson as the top 2 off the board. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot. Hell, Mac Jones could make a push for being the third quarterback off the board. Probably not, but maybe. All these guys are going to go in the top 20 no matter what. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think that all 5 of these quarterbacks have potential and could be very good in the NFL. And for right now, I'm just putting Trey Lance at my third quarterback spot. At 10, I have Jalen Waddle. The injury, I really wish he didn't break his ankle because I think he might have been my wide receiver number 1. He was at the start of the season, like halfway through the season. I was very, very high on Jalen Waddle. I've gone back. Obviously Devontae Smith had a very fast rise during the season after Jalen Waddle's absence, and then I went back and watched Ja'Marr Chase some more, reminded myself why so many people are high on him, why so many people love him, and then now I'm at Jalen Waddle at that third wide receiver spot. So all 3 of these guys going to be very, very good in the NFL. Jalen Waddle just ranked a little bit lower than these guys. I think he's the most dynamic playmaker in this class. I think Ja'Marr Chase and Devontae Smith run a bit much more crisp routes than Jalen Waddle, but Jalen Waddle has that elite speed. No one's faster than him. Maybe Anthony Schwartz, but Jalen Waddle's a lot of fun to watch. Again, just so dynamic. I think he's better than Ruggs was last year, so certainly deserves to go inside the top 15, top 10, and I think he probably will end up going inside the top 10. He's a top 10 player in this class, as you can see, in my opinion, so Jalen Waddle, really, really good prospect, someone that I'm very fond of, and someone that I'm excited to see in the NFL. At 11, here's Rashawn Slater. Again, I think he does have the highest floor out of any tackle in this class. He can come in and play for you right away. He's going to be very, very good. I expect him to go inside the top 10. Right now, I have Sewell to the Falcons in my mock, and then Slater to the Bengals at 5, which could happen. I don't think Slater falls outside the Cowboys if Sewell's already off the board. So I think Slater's a very, very good tackle prospect, someone that I'm very excited to watch in the NFL. And again, he's already there. Like you can plug him, play him. He's going to be really good in the NFL. That's why some teams might take Slater over Sewell. It could happen. So right now, Slater, very, very good prospect and someone that definitely is worthy of being a top 10 pick in my opinion. I have him at 11. I think he will go in the top 10 though. And it's interesting. Matt Miller's big board came out on his subscription website, and he had Slater as the number 3 overall prospect. He goes Trevor Lawrence, Penei Sewell, and then Rashawn Slater. So I found that very interesting. A lot of people are high on him. I have him at 11 right now. He could certainly rise up my big board a bit, but I think that overall Rashawn Slater's a good player and definitely has the highest floor of any tackle in this class. At 12, here he is, Caleb Farley, someone else that I'm really fond of. I love Caleb. I think that he's going to make an immediate impact on whatever team he goes to. He might go be the first corner off the board because of the scheme versatility that he presents. I know he fits the Broncos scheme very well, and they might be the first team to take a pick at a cornerback. So Caleb Farley might end up being the first corner off the board. But overall, as a prospect, I have him a little lower than Patrick Surtain, only by 4 spots. He's a really good player, great track speed, great in zone coverage, good in man as well. I think the scheme versatility, going back to that, is really what excites teams about this prospect. He's a very, very solid player and someone that, all of these guys in the top 20, top 25 are going to be players that I think are players that I think are going to be very good in the NFL almost immediately. I think some of them need grooming, but Caleb Farley, I don't think is one of those guys. I think he's going to come in and another person that's just going to make an impact on the team, basically right from the jump, and be a wide or cornerback 1 right from the jump. At 13, here he is, Justin Fields. Again, it's just the scheme that he's in. And don't get me wrong, obviously, you can point to so many teams that haven't had good quarterbacks before producing a good one, whether it was like Clemson with Deshaun Watson, Louisville and Lamar Jackson. Teddy Bridgewater was good. But you know what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's necessarily the most valid argument to be like, there's never been a good Ohio State quarterback. But the problem is that the scheme they run at Ohio State doesn't really teach these guys how to be good NFL quarterbacks, and it goes back to the fact that it's so simplified, and Justin Fields has been playing in this simplified offense. He's a great athlete. He has a very underrated arm, and when the play breaks down, he can escape in the pocket and extend it a bit, but when his first read isn't there, that's what concerns me the most. That's what shows up on tape when he gets a little jittery in the pocket. That's when he started taking sacks at the end of the year. So Justin Fields, I think there's a lot left to be desired, but I also think in the right coaching staff, with the right coaching staff, he can be a very good player. I think the dream fit for him is to go with a brilliant quarterback coach in Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, as well as a guy in Matt Rule, who's just a great leader, understands the game of football. So I think that's the dream scenario for Justin Fields, to land in the lap of the Carolina Panthers, and I think he could certainly turn into a great NFL player. Right now, he's a bit raw. I think he needs a great coaching staff, and that's why I have him at 13, because I don't think Lance or Wilson or Trevor necessarily need a great coaching staff. They already have the intangibles that you want. I think Justin Fields needs to grow a bit more as a passer, and for that reason, I think that, that's why I have him as fourth overall quarterback. But he's in the top 15 of the class, so very good player. All these players are very good, but Justin Fields, I think, again, can definitely develop into a very good prospect in the NFL. At 14, I have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He's a really good player as well. Great linebacker out of Notre Dame. He's a fantastic athlete, great in coverage. Someone that teams are really going to be high on. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of the fastest risers this year. Didn't really hear his name all that much until the end of the season, when people started looking at his tape, realizing how athletic he was, how good he is in coverage, and how good he is against the run. I think he's a very complete player. Micah Parsons is the better athlete and has more versatility, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah definitely going to play, I think, more likely than not, off the ball outside linebacker in the NFL. At 15, I have Azeez Ojulari. Here's the first edge rusher in the class. He's a beast, gets after the quarterback. He's by far the most athletic edge rusher. He had the most consistent pressure rate in college football out of any of these edge rushers. He's my number one. I'm really high on Azeez. I think he brings to the table what you want in the edge rusher, or as an edge rusher. He's a little undersized, maybe not fit for a 4-3, but I think a 3-4 would fit him pretty well. And Azeez Ojulari, just a very good player, and has a high motor, gets to the quarterback. Someone that I'm excited to watch in the NFL as well. So that's why I have him as my number one overall edge. I think he's just the most pure pass rusher in this class. And again, I think that he might not be the number one overall edge to go, because Kwity Paye might have a little more scheme versatility, might fit teams' builds better. So there's a lot to be differentiated between the fact that the big board and the mock draft isn't always how it goes, right? Because teams have needs, teams have schemes, and it's going to be a very different order than this. This is just, in my opinion, who I view as the best players in this class. At 16, Alijah Vera-Tucker. I have him over Christian Darrisaw, who's my third tackle. I think Alijah Vera-Tucker will end up playing guard in the NFL, but he could also play tackle, and the versatility, the positional versatility that he has is why I think teams are going to be really high on Elijah. I really like him. The versatility is something that teams are going to really look at and be like, well, if we need a tackle, we can play him there. If we need a guard, we can play him there. Hell, we can even try him at center. He just is so versatile, played everywhere at USC, and I think that he's a great athlete, and it's a reason that a lot of teams are going to be high on him, and teams are going to go after him. I think that although he's an interior offensive lineman, or they have him listed as interior offensive lineman, he can end up going in the top 15. That's something we could see, even though it's not necessarily the biggest positional value for those top 15 spots. So someone that I'm very excited to see where he falls in this class. At 17, this is my second best edge rusher in the class, Gregory Rousseau. Another guy that I kind of had falling for a bit, but then I went back, watched, and was like, okay, this is why we like this kid. This is why people are excited about him. He gets to the quarterback, right? He might not have the best technique. He's not the purest pass rusher. I think Azeez Ojulari takes the cake there. Maybe even Kwity Paye is pretty good technique-wise, but Gregory Rousseau is just a great athlete and has so much versatility on the defensive line. I mean, you look at Miami, he played basically interior defensive lineman. He also played edge. I think he's a great 3-4 fit. He could play 3-4 end, or he could even play 4-3 interior defense, 4-3 edge, right? So I think that he's a very, very good player, great versatility, Swiss Army knife along the defensive line, and someone that I'm very excited to watch play in the NFL. So Gregory Rousseau, I think, fits a few more teams' needs better and fits their schemes better than some of these other edge rushers in this class, and that's why I have him at 17. At 18, here's my first running back. I love Najee Harris. If running back had any positional value, he would probably be in my top 10. I really haven't been high on a running back in a very long time, probably like since Saquon, as I am on Najee. Najee is a very fun player, and what I like so much about Najee is you talk about like the Derrick Henry comparison and like how physical he is as a rusher. He is so good in the passing game too. He's great out of the backfield catching the football, and someone that I think I'm excited to see where he lands because I think the Steelers are a great fit. The Jets could even be a great fit. The Dolphins would be a lot of fun. But I think that, again, he could basically go anywhere. He's an all-around running back. People don't give him enough credit for that, so that's why I have him at 18. Again, if running back had any positional value, I'd put him higher than 18. At 19, here's my next edge, Jalen Phillips. He's another guy that I went back and watched recently. Jalen Phillips is very, very good at getting to the quarterback. Has probably the highest motor of anyone in this class. Jalen Phillips dealt with injuries. I think that's why he's fallen so much. But, when he transferred from UCLA, he had 2 wrist injuries, I think, and maybe a back injury was the other one, but some concerns in the injury field, and that's why he might fall a bit. But I mean, if you go back to UCLA, he got consistent pressure when he played, and then this year at Miami was by far the best edge rusher. Everyone thought Quincy Roche would be the guy for Miami this year. It ended up being Jalen Phillips. 2 transfers. Jalen Phillips took the cake as the better one. And again, he's a bit of a hothead. I said that in some of my mock drafts, but I think that that's what teams are looking for on the defensive side of the ball. You want someone with a little fire under their stomach and someone that's going to go out and get after the quarterback. And Jalen Phillips, again, just such a high motor, great technique, and I think that he'll definitely be a first-round pick and probably a top 25 pick, maybe even top 20. So it's going to be fun to see. At 20, here's Chad Surratt. This might be another surprise. What I love so much about Chad Surratt is how football young he is at the linebacker position. Quarterback for North Carolina, Sam Howell comes in. He decides to switch positions. He's like, I'm going to be a linebacker here, and he's just getting started at linebacker. He's already projected a second-round pick, and his upside, I think maybe out of any position, any player in this class, he has the biggest upside because he is so young at the linebacker position. He's still learning the ins and outs of the linebacker position. He's already voted All ACC. He's just dominant. He's only going to get better with a good NFL coaching staff. He's going to exceed all expectations. I think he might have one of the better careers out of anyone in this entire class. I'm very high on Chad Surratt. I love his upside, and I think that he's going to be a really fun player in the NFL. At 21, here's Christian Darrisaw. He's a good tackle, great run blocking tackle. Not as good as Jalen Mayfield, but Christian Darrisaw is someone that I really like. He's going to come in, play for a team, start right away. I've had him going at 13, I think, quite a bit to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that's something that we could definitely see this year. So Christian Darrisaw, great player, and a good tackle here. That's definitely going to go in the first round. At 22, Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama. He's more of a game manager than anything else, but at the Senior Bowl, he balled out. He played very, very good football. I think that he's a quarterback that in the right scheme, I think a team like the Patriots is perfect for him. Even a team like the Washington football team where they're, run the football a bit, do a lot of play action, keep him in the pocket. I think that that's going to be a good fit. Even the Chicago Bears could be a good fit for Mac Jones. The Indianapolis Colts, I would love. I think the Patriots and the Colts have to be his top 2 best fits. But Mac Jones is someone that I'm very excited to see how he pans out. I want him to do well. Again, he's more of a game manager than anything else. I think he's, Jimmy Garoppolo-esque, but I think that's perfect for a team like the Patriots or the Colts, a team that, runs the ball, a team that, predicates themselves on a great defense. Obviously, the Patriots dealt with a lot of opt-outs this year, and that definitely hurt their defense, but overall, I think that Mac Jones could potentially be a very good quarterback in the NFL. He just has to go to the right coaching staff and a team that understands exactly what he is and what they're getting with Mac Jones. At 23, Kadarius Toney. He's my 4th wide receiver. He's a very good player. Proved to be a fantastic route runner at the Senior Bowl this year. I think that's what a lot of teams wanted out of him. Like, how crisp are his routes? How good is he going to be, not only as like a utility knife, not only as a speed guy, but can he create separation? Can he be, a wide receiver 1 in the NFL? And I think that he proved that there is upside there. And Kadarius Toney obviously drop issues at the Senior Bowl, but had 0 drops all season. So I'm not really taking that into account. I think that he's, one of the most electric players in this class and someone that I'm very excited to see pan out in the NFL. At 24, Zaven Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. Another guy kind of like Micah Parsons that I like so much because of the versatility that he presents. He reminds me a lot of Anthony Barr in the fact that he can play linebacker off the ball and edge as well. That's really been his role at Tulsa. No one really plays those two positions as much as Zaven Collins does in this class. You could compare him to Zach Bond from last year's class. I think he's a little better than that. Zaven Collins is someone that I'm very excited to see in the NFL, and a player that has huge upside. I think that a lot of teams are going to want to play him at edge, and a lot of teams are going to want to play him at off the ball linebacker. So it's going to be fun to see where he ends up playing and which team he goes to. At 25, first interior defensive lineman off the board, I have Christian Barmore. I think just as like a straight-up nose tackle, he's going to be a beast in the NFL. He can get after the quarterback, stop the run, great block shedding. I think he's, overall the best interior defensive lineman in his class. That's why I have him ranked as that. 25th overall player. I don't think he'll go in the first round. It's going to be borderline. I've mocked him in the first round quite a bit. It depends on if the Bucs decide to move on from Shaq Barrett. Then do they take an edge, or do they go interior defensive lineman to Christian Barmore? I think that's a perfect landing spot for him in Tampa Bay, but we'll see where he lands. It's going to be interesting. Some teams have Davion Nixon higher on their board because of his versatility and athleticism, but I think Christian Barmore is a beast and someone that I think is going to be a great player in the NFL. Like I mean, I know I'm saying about all these players, but I think they're all very good talents. And again, it's hard to be critical of any of these guys that you've studied over the past 4 or 5 months now, and you really like all their games individually. And you like when I'm looking at all these guys, I do genuinely hope they all succeed. And I know a lot of people get mad at me for being so critical of Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields to be very good in the NFL. I think he can be very good in the NFL. So I think that all these players obviously have great upsides. It just all depends on the coaching staff they go to, and if the tape is obviously mostly college based, then they're not always going to pan out in the NFL. But for right now, I think that all these players that I'm putting in my top 50 are players that I genuinely believe can be good players, and guys that really excite me during this year's draft. At 26, here's Kwity Paye. Pretty low on him compared to a lot of other people. A lot of people have him as their edge one. I think Kwity Paye is basically Jadeveon Clowney, and Jadeveon Clowney's had a great career in the NFL. Obviously not much in the way of a pass rusher, but very good at stopping the run. That's what, in my opinion, Kwity Paye does best. He gets in the backfield a lot, disrupts the run game very, very well. I think a lot of people are high on him as a pass rusher because of the pressures he put on players this year at Michigan, and you saw him get to the quarterback quite a bit. I don't think he's the best pass rusher in this class. And again, pressures are just as important as sacks. Does Kwity Paye get a lot of sacks? No, but he does get a decent amount of pressures, and again, the technique is there. I think with the right coaching staff, he can develop into probably the best pass rusher in this class. I'm just a little low on him because I don't think he's all that great at pass rushing. I think his role, again, is more of as a run stopper than anything else. At 27, Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Really, aside from Rashawn Slater, I think you could point to Alex Leatherwood and say he has the highest floor in this class. Played forever at Alabama, like 4 years of starting, it feels like now, maybe 3, and balled out of the Senior Bowl as well. Proved himself there, proved that he's going to be one of the top tackles taken. I'm higher on Alex Leatherwood than a lot of people are. Some people want to point to Jalen Mayfield because he's so dominant as a run blocker, but just as a pure tackle in the NFL, I think Leatherwood excites me the most out of the remaining tackles. I think obviously Sewell, Slater, and Darrisaw have solidified themselves as the top 3 tackles in this class, and if you want to throw Elijah Vera Tucker there at tackle, top 4. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot as well. I think that you could point to guys like Cosmi, Cosmi, Leatherwood, Mayfield, and make a case for all of those players to be the next best tackle. Right now, I just have Leatherwood in that role again because he's so because his floor is so high and because he's been playing for so long and has so much experience at the tackle position. I think that's going to excite a lot of teams as well. At 28, here's Joseph Osai. He's a little raw as an edge rusher. This was really the first year of production we've seen out of him. I think that he'll end up going in the second round. It's trending that way, that a lot more people are having him fall out of the first round, just more based on scheme than anything else on the back end of these first round teams. A lot of people are pointing to Joe Tyron to go in this range over Joseph Osai and a few other guys as well. So I do like Joseph Osai. I think he has a great upside. Again, his floor is a little low right now. It's going to take a good coaching staff, but Joseph Osai is another prospect that I think could develop into a great edge rusher and someone that we see getting after the quarterback consistently at the next level. At 29, Nick Bolton, best pure middle linebacker in this class. I've compared him to Kenneth Murray. I'm going to stick by that comparison. I think they're both similar players, both absolute just beast and big guys, maulers at the linebacker position. Both of them aren't the tallest guys, but they're both like 240 right now, which is ridiculous. I think Nick Bolton packs a punch with his hits. And again, just as a pure middle linebacker, I think he's the best in this class. And I think that, a lot of people have him rising very fast right now, and he could be one of the top linebackers selected, along with the names of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Micah Parsons. So definitely a name to watch out for as a riser in this class. At 30, here's Davion Nixon. Nixon is another guy, just a great athlete at the tackle position, gets to the quarterback sometimes. He's very good at run stopping as well, good at block shedding. Davion Nixon's just, someone that has the full package at interior defensive line. I think, again, Christian Barmore is a little bit better than him at all those things, but Davion Nixon certainly possesses the ability to be the number one interior defensive lineman off the board, and could end up being that guy. A lot of the big draft names, Matt Miller, and I think it was Todd McShay, have mocked him over Christian Barmore and have mocked him in the first round. I think Matt Miller had him at 17 overall in his first mock draft, which is very high. He really likes the fit of him to the Raiders, which is something we could see. I think Raiders go edge, but this is not a mock draft. This is a big board video, and Davion Nixon is someone that I'm excited to see as well in the NFL. At 31, here's J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn's a great corner, great athlete, but I think he's very scheme dependent. Wherever he goes, it's going to have to be a scheme. I think Saleh's scheme in New York fits him pretty well right now. I think the Cardinals scheme fits him pretty well right now. There's some other places that he could land where he could be good, but if he goes to a team that doesn't really run the scheme that he depends on, I think that's going to hurt his play in the NFL. So I think, again, scheme dependent, but overall great athlete, great corner, and someone that I think will go inside the top 20. I just have him rated pretty low just because he is scheme dependent, and I think that hurts his stock a bit. At 32, I have Rashad Bateman. Bateman's a great route runner. I call him Baby Michael Thomas. They basically do the same thing. Short routes, no one really is going deep all that much. Neither one of those guys, but Rashad Bateman definitely has good hands, can catch the football consistently, and again, great route runner, creates separation by himself, doesn't need to be schemed open, and someone that I think we'll see go in the first round. At 33, I'm pretty high on Aaron Robinson. You can see I just have him right below J.C. Horn. I think he'll be the fourth corner taken. Great Senior Bowl week. A lot of people starting to watch his tape. He's a physical corner, probably the most physical in this class. Will push you around, bully you at the cornerback position, and I think that's what a lot of teams are looking for. You look at the NFC Championship where you had a smaller corner, Kevin King, get absolutely bitched by the Buccaneers receiving core. I think that teams are going to start to steer away from that. It's becoming a much more physical game. You got guys like DK Metcalf now in the NFL. Obviously, the Julio Jones, your DeAndre Hopkins, all have been shining for quite some time, and you got to have corners that are able to match that physicality, and I think Aaron Robinson is one of those guys. At 34, Sam Cosmi. He's another good tackle here. I think he'll end up going the first round as well, just because of the needs of tackles in this class, and a lot of people are looking in that direction. I think Sam Cosmi can come in. He's another guy like Alex Leatherwood that it feels like has been around forever in college football, has been playing for a really long time, and for that reason I give him a high floor. I think that he come and play right away, and again, will be a starter and probably end up being a first-round pick, probably a back-end first-round pick at this point in the 2021 NFL Draft. At 35, I have Wyatt Davis. Wyatt Davis, I think I would put a little higher. He's just, in my opinion, far away the best run blocking interior offensive lineman in this class, and it's not really close. But the injury does raise some question marks. I think that's what's hurting his stock right now. That's why I have him rated at 35. I would have put him in my top 32. I think he's warranted that. He's a great player, but again, the injury is going to hurt him a bit. And again, interior offensive line is another one of those positions where the need really is pretty low. The positional value is pretty low. So it's going to be interesting to see where he falls. I think he'll end up going in the second round, but I think he's borderline, as you can see, borderline first round talent. And if that injury wasn't there, I think that I would have him in my top 32. At 36, I'm not even going to pronounce his name. Actually, I'll try Levon Owusu. Definitely botched that. I'm sorry, Levi. But regardless, best interior defensive lineman, pass rusher in this class, gets after the quarterback. That's something that really excites me about interior defensive lineman now. I've recently watched his tape, didn't really watch him all that much before. Saw a lot of people putting him borderline first round, early second round, so I decided to check him out. I've already come to the conclusion that I think he is the best interior defensive line pass rusher in this class, and that's something that teams are really looking for. I mean, you look at guys like Aaron Donald now in the NFL getting after a quarterback, DeForest Buckner getting after a quarterback. I think teams want pressure up the middle, and to disrupt the passing game that way, not just off the edges. So Levi, I think, does end up going late first, early second here. Maybe even the number one interior defensive lineman taken off the board just because he possesses that pass rush ability. At 37, here's my next running back, Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. Very, very fun prospect. I think he's extremely good in the passing game. People compare him to Alvin Kamara a bit. I kind of like that. He's a good runner as well. So Travis Etienne is an interesting player. Do I think he goes in the first round? No. Could he? Yes. It depends on where the first running back goes, right? Because teams might even have Etienne higher than Najee. Obviously, teams' big boards are going to be far different than mine. But I think right now Etienne has proven that he is the second best running back in this class, has had great success at Clemson over the past few years. It's just going to be interesting to me to see if the running back order in the first round and if there's multiple running backs in the first round, or do they all kind of go in that range of like 33 to 40. We could see like 4 or 3 running backs go. So it's going to be a lot of fun, the running back class. I think Etienne, again, is a great player. I'm just kind of thinking out loud to myself of it's going to be fun to see where he ends up playing. And, is it going to be the Falcons, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Steelers? There's a plethora of teams that could certainly take a running back in the range of 20 to 40, 45. So Etienne's definitely going to go in that range, but I'm excited to see the running back class and how it all plays out. At 38, I have Dylan Raduns. He's another guy that can just pass block pretty well. And, obviously Jalen Mayfield's a little lower for me. I think I have him in my top 50. We'll find out shortly. But Jalen Mayfield's a little lower for me because he isn't the best pass blocker. Obviously, he's a great running blocker. I really value pass blocking pretty high at the tackle position. I think that's the most important part of it. I think you gotta be able to protect the quarterback in today's NFL. It's got to be your most important value. You saw it with the Bengals last year. I mentioned this in many mock drafts. I think they did an abysmal job at protecting Joe Burrow, and for that reason, if Jamar Chase is on the board, if Kyle Pitts is on the board, I think they go tackle even if Penei Sewell's already off the board. I think they have to take Slater because they have to protect Joe Burrow. I'm looking for guys that can pass block pretty well, and I think Dylan Raduns fits that role. Did a great job for Trey Lance at North Dakota State, and hopefully will do a great job for another NFL quarterback. At 39, this one probably no one has him in their top 50. I've had a draft crush on Rondale Moore since he was a freshman, ever since that Ohio State game. I still think he can be so good. Injuries are holding it back right now. I had to put him in my top 50. I still think he's one of the most versatile players in this class, one of the most exciting wide receivers in this class. And if he goes to the right team, I think he'll be one of the better receivers out of this class. And again, it does depend on scheme for him. You have to go to a coach that knows how to utilize a guy like Rondale Moore, someone that can play running back, someone that can play wide receiver, can be a returner. I think the most ideal spot for him right now is San Francisco, but do they take a receiver with already having guys like him and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel? Probably not. But just a coach that knows how to utilize a guy like that, I think is the ideal landing spot for Rondale Moore. But I'm still super high on him. I've, again, had a draft crush on him forever. I think that, again, he is one of the better players and better wide receivers in this class when healthy. So I've had him out as a first-round player forever. I had to not dock him down to the second round just because of injury, and I know he's not going until late second, early third round. But I still am very, very high on him and still think that he could end up being a very good player in the NFL. At 40, Javonte Williams, the first of the North Carolina running backs. I have I don't have the other one in my top 50, Carter in my top 50, but I still think that they're both really good players. Javonte Williams is the full package for me. Pass blocks, runs very well, and as well as can be effective in the receiving game. So those are the three things you look at for in a running back. He possesses all of them. A lot of people have Javonte as their RB1 in this class. So that's another thing that could happen. This running back order could go in any direction, just depends on the type of player you want. Because a lot of people last year had Swift as their number one running back or Jonathan Taylor as their number one running back. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes to the Chiefs because he fits that team perfectly, right? So it's going to be interesting. But for right now, I think Javonte Williams is warranted to be in the top 40, top 50 of my big board, and so that's why I put him there. At 41, here's Jalen Mayfield. I thought I included him. Again, best run blocking tackle in his class. He's there's some to be desired in the way of pass blocking, but again, if you're looking for a run blocking tackle, if you need someone that can run block for you, then Jalen Mayfield's your guy. I think he'll go to a run heavy team. If the Browns needed a tackle this year, I think they would be a perfect team for him. I'm trying to think of teams that need tackle and run the football a lot. I'm not going to spend all my time on finding a perfect fit for Jalen Mayfield, but I think he'll find a home in the NFL. He's another guy that could sneak into the first round, but for right now, I think 41's a great spot for him on my big board. At 42, here's Tevin Jenkins, another tackle in this. I mean, it's a pretty heavy. There's a good amount of tackles in this class and a good amount of guys that we're going to see go in the first round and even the second round. So Tevin Jenkins is just the next in line. Another guy that's going to be a pretty solid pass blocker in the NFL. And it's going to I'm very, very, very intrigued to see as more big boards come out, like where people have these tackles rated and how they're valuing each player. I've had Tevin Jenkins in the first round of some mocks. I've had him in the second of some mocks. So I think it's overall just going to be a crapshoot. I know I keep saying that of these tackles. At 43, here's Elijah Moore. I think he's another guy that gets slept on. Just great route runner, underrated route runner in my opinion. Might even be a little better than Kadarius Toney. I think Kadarius Toney is just more electric play overall, but has that downfield speed. And for his size, let's see, I think I can pull up his size. Yeah, he's 5'9". He's very good at catching the ball in traffic. He'll go up and get the football. Again, for his size, he's not as good as obviously like a Terrace Marshall or Jamar Chase in that role. But Elijah Moore is someone that I really like and I'm pretty high in, and I wouldn't mind seeing him go in the late first round if some team wants to take a shot on him. At 44, Trayvon Moehrig. I know a lot of people are high on this guy right now, especially for the versatility that he brings to the safety position. He's probably the best in coverage, not the best in the way of tackling, but can play your nickel corner role if you want him to. He can play the free safety role, obviously, which is what he played at TCU. I think Trayvon Moehrig is exciting to a lot of people right now. He's been in the first round of a lot of mock drafts recently. I'm going to go back and watch him a little more. I want to learn more about the safety class. Really haven't done a deep dive into it quite yet. Done my research on Trayvon Moehrig, obviously, but I think that, as the safety in the NFL, he can be good at, again, it's because of that versatility that he brings to the table. At 45, I have Boogie Basham, Carlos Basham, probably the most consistent guy at getting to the quarterback. He's done it for quite some time at Wake Forest now. Always puts up great sack numbers, and when I was making this big board, I was really excited to put Carlos Basham in it, and he was borderline, and then he performed, just balled out at the Senior Bowl, showed the whole world what we thought we knew about him, what he can do, and that's what teams want. Carlos Basham, I think, just again most consistent. You get what you see with Carlos Basham, and obviously more of a bigger body, a big guy. I do want to see his size. Yeah, 6'3", 281. Going to play on the defensive line. Don't think he has the athleticism to play outside linebacker. So with the lack of that, versatility and scheme, I think it's going to hurt his draft stock a bit. He might end up going in the third round, but I'm pretty high on him. I like Carlos Basham a lot. At 46, I have Pat Freiermuth, next best tight end besides Kyle Pitts. I know a lot of people have Freiermuth higher. I think that the tight end class is pretty weak overall after Pitts. I do think Freiermuth is a good player. People call him Baby Gronk. He's another guy that can block and catch. He's probably the best at doing both of those, combined. Obviously, there's better blockers in it than him in the class, and obviously better receiver in Kyle Pitts, who's a generational talent at that position. But I think at doing both, I think Pat Freiermuth is a healthy balance, and someone will definitely take a shot on him in the second round. At 47, I have Javon Holland, another guy that I like a lot. Liked him a lot last year. Obviously, he opted out this year. Javon Holland, probably the best tackling safety in this class, packs a punch with his hits, can come down, play in the box. I love safeties that can play in the box. Those are the type of guys that excite me a lot. I think Javon Holland's another name we'll hear in the second round. Probably doesn't have a shot at going in the first. Trayvon Moehrig definitely does, but again, I'm pretty low on Trayvon Moehrig compared to a lot of these other guys. I will go back and watch, and I'll post an updated big board before the draft, but for right now, this is where I stand. James Hudson, Matt Miller, if you want to watch my interview with him, totally put me onto him. Never heard of him. He was like, we asked him what his most slept on player was in this class, and he said James Hudson, the offensive tackle out of Cincinnati. Went back, watched the tape for the first time, and I love James Hudson. I think, again, I agree with Matt in the fact that not a lot of people are talking about him, and he could be one of the best sleepers in this class. I think Matt has him as like a first-round talent. I'm not putting him that high. I think there are better tackles than him, but if you want to talk about a guy that's name isn't getting talked about enough, it is James Hudson. At 49, I have Joe Tyron, another guy that's going in the first round a lot. I think it's just because of that, size and motor that he has. 6'4", 251. He can play on the defensive line. He can play off in a 3-4 scheme. And Joe Tyron, I think, is someone that we will see go late first, early second. I have him rated pretty low, lower than that, but I still think he'll end up being a solid player. And to wrap it up, I have Patrick Jones, another guy kind of like Carlos Basham that got to the quarterback, is always getting after the quarterback, puts up the sack numbers that you want to see. I think that Patrick Jones, his range is probably like 40 to 60. We'll see him go. I know that's a pretty decent range, but I think he will end up being a second-round player. I don't think he'll fall out of the second round. I'd be shocked. I really like Patrick Jones, and that's why he made the cut over Jason Owe. I know a lot of people like him. I think Jason Owe has a pretty solid upside, but his floor is pretty low right now for me as a pass rusher, which is why I put in Joe Tyron and Patrick Jones above him. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the big board. I know that was a lot of talking and a pretty long video. We're at 45 minutes right now, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I worked pretty hard on putting this together. Again, this is all subject to change as I watch more tape, so I will probably post a more updated one closer to draft time. It's only February, but I thought I'd make some content for you guys today. And don't forget to subscribe for the Subscriber Mock Draft. Take it easy, guys. Peace.